Now, back in 1921, the San Antonio downtown area had a huge flood. Now, so just make sure we're watching all hands and elbows. Now, there's also no smoking here on my boat. And if you find yourself in the water today, guys, stand up and walk out. Most of the river is less than 5 feet deep. Now, I do have life jackets less than 5 feet, yeah, if even that. I do have life jackets in the hatches next to the door, though, so if you are feeling dramatic, just splash around and I'll throw one at you. Last but not least, talking, guys. I know that we're not super close together, so if you do talk, please keep it on a low volume, just in case the person next to you is trying to listen to the tour. Other than that, we can go ahead. Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock stood in the middle of the stage in the part where she talks about. So it's unique because it was completely put together using bolts instead of being welded. Now, this metal structure here, Marriage Island. And we call this Marriage Island because the roots of the cypress tree created the shape of a heart, and approximately it was super hard packed. So cowboys and ranchers would use this area to cross with their cattle. It's even known that President Teddy Roosevelt and his American flag flying over it. That's the Tower of Life. Originally, these Smith & Young built in 1929. Now, the Smith brothers were very superstitious men, which is why you can see gargoyles up on top and these ugly faces right below the second floor window. Now, this bridge is floodgate number 4, and the green light on top tells me that the river isn't flooding, so we're safe to come through. We're not going to go that way because that green light back there is floodgate number 5, which is a 15-foot drop. And if you're wondering where that boat came from, that was down here, especially keys. But that's partly because of the street behind me is on top of it. Free laser light show broadcasted on the side of the cathedral. So they do have it tonight, starting at 9 p.m. It's called The Saga, and it tells the story of San Antonio's history. Now, in front of us is the oldest tree on the river. It's estimated to be over 300 years old, standing at approximately 90 feet tall. Now, if you're wondering, no, it is not dying. These are called balding cypress trees. And they got the name because during this time of the year, they do lose all of their leaves. So we also call this our Ben Milam tree. And that's because he was a Texas colonel during our Revolutionary War against Mexico. And as he was along the river, a Mexican sniper was in the tree and shot Ben Milam, and that's how he died. That's why they think the tree is so old, because there is no way in the 1800s a sniper could have hidden himself in the tree if it was any younger. Now, back in 1921, The San Antonio downtown area had a huge flood. Now, how huge, you ask? Well, if you look here to my left, this cream-colored building, which is now the Drury Inn and Suites, was built in 1921, a few months before the flood. The chandeliers on the first floor were completely covered by water. Now, here to my right is the Esquire Tavern, which was opened during Prohibition as the Esquire Barber Shop. Except with that barber shop, you would go in and ask for a buzz cut, and then they would take you downstairs, where you could get a different kind of buzz. Now, it is rumored that the Esquire Tavern opened up the day Prohibition was lifted, so they get to say that they're the oldest bar on the river. They do still have a speakeasy type bar every Friday and Saturday nights. All you gotta do is head towards the door next to the bathroom and give them the password, which is knocking 4 times and telling them that the polar bear has risen. Here to my right, we do have another one of our ticket locations. This one is underneath the Aztec Theater, which opened up in 1926 as a silent movie theater. Now, the silent movie business did eventually close, and it was later turned into a live performance theater. So now you can see things like concerts, comedy shows, anything put on stage, they have at the theater. Now, the cream-colored building to my right is Moncada Hotel, but it does still hold the presence of the L. Frank Saddlery Company, which provided saddles for people like President Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders, or even the saddles for one of the world wars. I can just never remember which one it is. Now, this bridge right here is named after Robert H. Hugman. He is known as the father of the Riverwalk, and that's because he is the man who designed the sidewalks and businesses down here. Now, the reason why he designed these is because the flood in 1921 made us design the floodgates. And Robert Hugman said, my floodgates are going to work so well that it's going to be safe for businesses down here. And he was right. We haven't had any issues in the past 100 years. Now, here to my left is a building which originally opened up in 1853 as St. Mary's School for Boys, and then was later turned into a University of Law. It wasn't until 1968 when an alumni of the law school bought the building and turned it into La Mansion Hotel. So that's what the building is today. Famous artists such as Jennifer Lopez has stayed there, as well as Seinfeld. Oh, speaking of Jennifer Lopez, that bridge that we passed, Hudson's Bridge, it was used in the movie Selena, starring Jennifer Lopez. So we're just gonna start looking right about now. So it should look flat, but don't worry, it's not going to fall on us. It is a triangular building, which used to be the Knicks Hospital. Now, the Knicks opened up in 1930. It was also the first hospital to offer central air conditioning. Now, they did close the hospital part back in 2019, and now they're turning it into the only thing they thought was practical, a hotel. Now, if you did want to learn more about the ghosts in San Antonio, I recommend you take a ghost tour. You can find them everywhere. Our boats even offer ghost tours. I just don't know if we're running them tomorrow. I know we're not doing it tonight, but we might have it tomorrow. But something I can tell you on this tour, because no matter what ghost tour you take, they will tell you about the Manger Hotel. And that's because the Manger is the most haunted hotel in San Antonio with no less than 36 ghosts living there. The Manger is located next to the Alamo. If you wanted to get there from here, you can go through the doors here on my left. So this area is called the Shops of Paseo del Alamo, built as a way for people to get from the Riverwalk to the Alamo without getting lost. Now they are part of the Hyatt Regency Hotel, which was supposed to be 32 floors high, but if the hotel stayed that tall, it would have cast a shadow on the Alamo, and it is against city ordinance to cast a shadow on a war memorial. So they did reduce it by half, and the Hyatt Regency now stands at 16 floors high instead. Now, coming up to my right is the Casino Club building, but don't pull out your wallets yet, because it's not a casino, and it really never was. or so they said. No, it was just founded by the Casino Association and the San Antonio Society Club. Now today you can find a restaurant on the first 2 floors, and above that are apartments. Now, they are the cheapest apartments in the downtown area, and they only have like a 16-year wait. So the area that we're coming through now, this is what we call Restaurant Row, and it's because it's literally a row of restaurants. Now you can usually see a lot of ducks in this area, and that's because wherever there's food, there's ducks. Now if y'all are worried about my boat running over a duck, you shouldn't be, because the way our boats are designed, they push the water, which push the duck. So even if it wanted to get hit by my boat, it's not going to happen. Now here on my left is the Clifford Building. It was the home of Robert H. Hugman's office. Now he placed his office here in 1941 when the Riverwalk was completed to show everyone that it was now safe for business. But a lot of people didn't believe him. They were like, oh, that crazy old man Hugman, he's gonna die no time soon. But they were wrong. He was right. The river was safe for business. And just 5 years later, Casa Rio opened up its doors. Now Casa Rio here on my right is not only the oldest restaurant on the river, but they are the first business to offer river boat rides. And that's why we now have pontoon boats. Now we have just exited the natural San Antonio River and have now entered the man-made extension, which was added in 1968 for the World's Fair, which was a huge festival that San Antonio had to celebrate its 250th birthday. Because what better way to celebrate than to invite countries from all over the world and have a 6-month-long fiesta. It was also a way for San Antonio to be like, hey world, look at me, and come see why we're so different. And it worked, because over 7 million people visited San Antonio in just that 6-month span. And now we are so popular that our Riverwalk is the #1 tourist attraction in all of Texas, with millions of people visiting us every year. Now in front of us you can see a few hotels. I'll talk about the one towards my left called Marriott River Center, built in 1988. It is the tallest hotel in San Antonio, standing at 32 floors, compared to the Grand Hyatt, which is 34. Now if you're like, hold on, that math doesn't add up. Why is Marriott taller? Well, the antenna's on top. It's a little trick that architects use to say that they have a taller building. It's not even the first time they use this trick, because San Antonio also used it in 1968 for the Tower of Americas, which you can see up to my right. It's that thing that looks like a giant churro with a cupcake on top. Now, Tower of Americas is only 522 feet to the observation deck, but 750 to the top of the antenna. And that makes it the second tallest freestanding building in the United States. It used to be the first, but then they built the Stratosphere in Las Vegas, so that's what beat it out. Now you can take an elevator up to the observation deck, but there's also 952 steps. Now they do walk up those stairs every year in memorial to 9/11, as well as for marathons. And the fastest recorded time of all those steps is just 5 minutes and 18 seconds. And I will never do that again. Just kidding. No, it was actually beat back in the 80s by Tommy Johnson. Now since then, the second fastest time has been 7 minutes, and the fastest time going down has only been 30 seconds. Now I must warn you guys, we are headed towards the most dangerous part of the river, the mall. It's very dangerous for your wallets, especially. But before that, this river did have a name, and that was Yanaguana. Now Yanaguana translates to a place of restful waters in a language native to the Payaya people. They were one of the Native American tribes that lived in this area. And You know, another reason why San Antonio is so haunted is because all of the city is haunted by the Native American tribes that lived in this area. Now, but the trees here to my right is the top of a steeple. That steeple does belong to St. Joseph's Catholic Church, which was founded by the German community back in 1868 because they were yearning for a German sermon. Now today they still uphold that tradition because every fourth Sunday of the month they have an all-male choir who sings in German. But I do recommend you check out the church beforehand because they have some beautiful stained glass windows that came straight from Germany. The details on those things are incredible. Coming up above the street to my right, you're going to see a big red structure. So that is called the Torch of Friendship. It was placed there in 2002 by an artist named Sebastian as a gift from Mexico. Now, when you walk around it and look at it from the different points of views, you will see that some points look complex while others look like they work more harmoniously. Well, the artist did this to represent the friendship that we have with Mexico. Because even though it's complicated, we are still united. Now I'm going to make a quick stop here, guys. You might have noticed I made a stop coming in as well. Because, unfortunately it's a forward ending. Now I am going to ask you guys to remain seated until I have the boat secured. I will let you know when it is safe to stand. Now I do have this tip jar, guys. Now tipping your boat captain is not required, but it is very much appreciated. Also, if you don't have cash, I do accept Cash App and Venmo. Now if you want to make sure you look to the left, right, and underneath you, grabbing everything we might have brought on. If you do leave anything behind, don't worry, don't panic. We do have a lost and found. So you just come back to where you were. If you have any questions as we're getting off the boat, please feel free to ask me. Other than that, guys, I hope you'll have a fantastic day. I hope you stay warm. Reminder, please don't stand up until I have the boat tied down. And again, thank y'all so much, guys, for joining me today. I really enjoyed my time with y'all. So just